Hi, I want to talk about capitalism and socialism and why capitalism is dead or is not working anymore, and why a lot of economists they keep going back to this model or economic model and try to revive it, and they sorrow over what has happened after 2008. If capitalism was a person, he would probably be a serial killer in his 80s or 90s and had a heart attack in 2008. And economists are pumping him, or the banks are pumping him with all kinds of cash and liquidity to keep him alive. But capitalism works on scarcity, and there is less scarcity because many technologies are coming online or have been coming online for many years that makes it very cheap to produce just about anything. You take copper, oil, administrative services, carpets, ships, and then on top of all of that, the the networks like eBay or Amazon or different methods of sales, for example Craigslist, make it possible for a manufacturer or producer who might still be a capitalist to sell everything they make very cheaply and also produce these things extremely cheaply. So the scarcity has died, and there's a lot of stuff out there that's not even being sold, just sitting. So for capitalism to function, you need to have something that's scarce. Some capitalist or financier comes along, buys that thing in quantity, and then transports it to another place, and then resells it. Or what if everything had become like email, and there are companies that give out email for free? Then what incentive is there for somebody else to come in and make an email producing company? Well, if this is very similar situation with many products. You take, say, somebody was making a coffee maker, and now they are making coffee makers everywhere, in China, in Singapore, in Vietnam, or in Bangladesh, and they do it very cheaply. Labor is low, there is robotics, so this stuff is made and shipped to anywhere you want. So I think that the many Americans are grieving for something that has died. There were many companies that would make shoes or make coffee makers, and there were jobs in the 50s or 60s that you could go work for this company to make coffee or a coffee maker. But then this brings out to another argument that they had some groups against Walmart, because Walmart was one of the early companies that went out and tried to buy everything very cheaply from China, and they would buy in huge quantities and then also sell it cheaper, so undercut all the other retailers. So when Walmart would move into a small town, kind of bankrupted a lot of little shops. But then one of the spokesperson for Walmart was defending Walmart. He was saying that Well, say for example, you used to pay for 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 a phone or something like that. Those old-fashioned phones, like had wired phones. You were paying like $40 for a set, and then now the price has collapsed. You can get it for $10. So you're saving $30, but that $30 is not being dedicated to this product. This is a passe product. It's an old product that the world knows how to produce this very cheaply. So you're getting it, and you're getting it at a pretty good price. And so that $30 that you didn't spend on buying this passe product, it will remain in your pocket, okay, as liquidity or money. Well, then in the show, Max Kaiser, he says that, okay, then because you're getting all these products cheaply, that doesn't mean that you're winning. It means that you're losing the jobs that were high-paying jobs, and now you're also poorer. Well, you're saving $10, but then your purchasing power and also your jobs have disappeared. But that's kind of bogus argument, because first of all, the manufacturing technology and the production modes are not something that's in the whims and desires of economists. Okay, you're just an economist or a mathematician. You're just an observer. You're making a model of an economic processes that used to go on in the 50s or 60s. Who says that I am a god? I'm not. Neither is Max Kaiser or Stacy Herbert. You cannot force the world to manufacture things differently. You cannot force the manufacturers to remain in the United States. You cannot force the public to buy a coffee maker for $50 when she has a chance to buy it for $10 and save the money and do something else with the money. So there is an evolution in economic environment that goes on. There is evolution in manufacturing, modes of manufacturing. There is robotics coming on, AI. None of these technologies or any of the governments or the publics they owe it to the world or anybody to do things in a certain way to make the economists happy, and there is cash that's extra and would make a new or continue the old middle classes. Okay, that was a kind of a life that existed in an era in the 50s, 60s, maybe some of the 70s. Well, who says that it should go on forever and not ever? We can study economic systems, or we can study life. Life hasn't been like this in millennials that were gone by, and then who says that it has to stay like this either in the future? In fact, there have been many human civilizations, and a lot of them they have disappeared. And the reason for them not being there anymore has little to do with the manufacturing modes or agricultural modes. Well, there were some historians that study collapses that they contribute maybe these to like drought conditions, or they didn't have good transportation modes, or their society was not democratic, stuff like that. But those are just speculations, and there are more stronger reasons why some societies collapse. And one of them in more recent time is because they spend their resources, tremendous amount of their money they extracted from their society and gave it to their own bourgeoisie, to their own corporations, to their own rich, or engaged in foreign warfare and destroyed foreigners. And the foreigners came back and taught them a lesson that they are not the world. Or maybe the Americans will learn this lesson themselves. But nobody owes Americans anything. Nobody said that things should go on like this, and nobody is special. Well, I want to tell you why I don't think any person is special. There is talent in the world. You'll be very surprised. I was in high school, and back then they didn't have IQ tests. Well, they had some. And I had a friend in high school, and he was very good in math. And we were studying algebra in 11th and 12th grade. And he was studying real analysis, abstract algebra, topology. He had books. He was teaching me calculus, far ahead of my time and the classes that I was taking. Well, I didn't know back then that my IQ is 153, but he knew what his was. His was like 165. He was like a genius with the N factor. So there is no special personalities. Even people who are extremely bright, there are always some that are a notch or two brighter. That they are more talented. They sing better. They look better. This the exceptionalism. That's like a myth that goes on in American society. All it is a myth. If we look at the world, we see that the Chinese have very good scientists. They have very nice weapons. They are innovators in quantum physics. Same with Russians. You can kind of look and see they have great manufacturing. They have a lot of populations. Same goes with India. They also have democratic system of government. It's not haphazard, and plus they have a lot of resources internally and externally, and also they don't engage in warfare. They don't go all over the world, kill off foreigners, make a lot of enemies. And, their culture is receptive. Who says that in the future they will not be the top leaders? But I want to go back to capitalism again. When there is more wealth is created, it doesn't have to be the same kind of wealth that old-fashioned economists like Mr. Kaiser knows this is wealth. It doesn't have to be quantified or measured in the same fashion as what he's used to, or his mathematical models predict that this is wealth. Hey, this is wealth. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be wealth in a different way. It will go by his measuring rod. It will just be there. Well, one of the wealth that keeps seeping into in society, and you can just kind of feel that, hey, this exists. For example, I could sit on my computer and make a little gadget, that flies and sings and does this and that, okay, and make an MRI of it. And then there are companies out there, either in the United States or in China, and I could take out my Visa card and order like 1,000 of these gadgets, have them 3D printed for me, and then ship it to my house, and then I'll put them on the eBay and sell them. So basically, this one guy, he has a lot of talents, and he just came up with this gadget, and he just became the manufacturer, became the financier, became the distributor, became the ultimate seller. I will print out the receipt. I might even have to charge taxes and give it to the government. So isn't this like some kind of hidden manufacturing or wealth that it will just totally go outside of the metrics that old-time economists they use, these metrics? Another way of looking at this and seeing that many of the economists they miss what's going on around them is because they're very used to certain metrics, certain things that measure things, and when they cannot, they don't see those metrics performing, they say, "Oh, this system is completely falling apart." Well, one of the metrics that many economists they use is precious metals like silver and gold. Okay. Now, a lot of people have said that when mining company digs out an ounce of gold from the ground, okay, the actual cost, labor, and cost of the machinery to service this operation is about 1,200 an ounce, maybe a little bit more. Okay, that's just what I've heard from here and there. Okay, and same goes with silver. It probably costs like $15 an ounce to dig out silver out of the ground, or the manufacturing operation that requires to do this. But if you look at this cost, you see that this mining operation, this manufacturing, this thing is just like if there was a manufacturing company that just I was telling you, it was just an operation. It's a series of things, like dig out the stones out of the ground, crush them, then add acid to them, then take the extract out, then do this and that to it. Okay, this is a manufacturing process too, and the cost of these steps, it could also collapse. Just like the cost to make a car or a widget or anything. Okay, so when there is technologically induced deflation, right? These things, these metrics, as silver or gold or Bitcoin or anything, they are also subjected to these processes, and they could also collapse. You don't know what process the silver purifying companies might come up with that totally change the equation and only cost like $1 to get an ounce. So what I'm saying is that these models that these economists they have, they are old models. They use old metrics. They also have a cultural affiliation with what's dead, what's past, with the 50s and 60s, and then they look around them and see that everything is falling apart, everything is not working. But the thing is, people also do things according to calculation depending on their circumstances. Okay, so for example, if I go to Walmart, I used to go there and buy Hawaiian shirts. Okay, so I used to pay like $15 for them each. Well, I don't wear Hawaiian shirts anymore. I like solid now, but then I started using eBay, and I could get the shirts cheaper, so I got it from them. Okay, so this is the calculation too that the consumer does calculate. Okay, I don't owe Walmart that I must go there. I still go there for other things. So what happens when the money it gets or resource gets freed up to do something better, then I am also able to buy more stuff and also buy stuff that I want, that have a sense of scarcity to me. This is also an engine of future productions or growth or technological changes. Anyhow, the then what the another thing that's happening is that, say for example, there is this stupid bank that invests zillions of dollars into real estate, buys all these buildings, makes ghost cities, and then there is a overproduction of everything. But they manage through manipulating government and brokers or society by propaganda to keep these prices high and continue to do this and continue to misallocate capital. Then what happens is exactly what's happening now. There is a lot of stuff, just like there is a lot of Hawaiian shirts in the Walmart, but then the consumer discovers that, hey, I could get this cheaper and it will be shipped exactly what I want to my house. So there is all these sudden collapses, like the price, the real price, not the manipulated price of stocks or bonds or whatever. It has collapsed, but that there is so much devotion to the past, there is so much history or loyalty or very enforced culture that keeps these prices officially in a certain way, artificially what it is. But the people who actually buy this stuff or use it, they know this is bogus. And when the time comes in to take your credit card out and buy that thing or get that service, then most people will do the calculation at that time, and then you see that, hey, this price is false. So this is like many people are in the banks or government, they're sorrowing, they know things are not right, they're not using the right metrics, they're devoted to the past, and the reality, which is more right than the past, just keeps going on and does what it wants. And this is what we also, all of us should be doing. Even though we are going towards a zero marginal cost society, because many things are becoming commodified, and also because of technological induced deflation, they're going to zero. Even though this is happening, well, our heads are elsewhere. Our heads are in the 50s and 60s. But it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the stock market collapses tomorrow. It doesn't, because the people who really would be the buyer of these stocks, they know this is false prices. Well, I also don't like many of these economists totally targeting socialism and if services that a government or a locality, say the county, if all the services can be computerized and given out very cheaply. Say, for example, you have a tax collection service in a county. If this service can be automated using AI or smart programs and be given out or be used by many different agencies for almost nothing, it doesn't matter if these officials they lose their jobs or they what this organization or this government what it can was supposed to do, if it can do it in an efficient cheap manner, that's all that matters. These people with these well-paying jobs, which often are corrupt individuals, they just one day, it could be today or yesterday or tomorrow, they will have to pack up and go. So this is like a um, historical imperative. Well, uh, thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel, and just because something is not glamorous, is not fantastic looking, it doesn't mean that it will not work right, it will not be worthwhile. You know, the world is not a casino that the American economists would like, or the people, Americans who are addicted to their 50s and 60s and consumption. They, we don't owe them anything. Please subscribe and leave your comment.